Hey, what up, folks? Welcome to the Film Focus page again. It's me, Mr. P, and I'm going to be talking about Iron Man 3. As you know, I'm going to be doing a review of every Marvel film up until the release of Captain Marvel, which takes place in 2019. This film was directed by Shane Black, and it stars Robert Downey Jr., Gwyneth Paltrow, Guy Pearce, Ben Kingsley, and Don Cheadle. Iron Man 3 takes place immediately after the events of Avengers. And in this film, we see a more vulnerable and more traumatized Tony Stark, played by Robert Downey Jr. Traumatized by the events what happened in New York, traumatized that he came close to death, and he's suffering from insomnia. We see that his relationship with Pepper isn't at its best. And we see Tony come face to face with without doubt, his greatest adversary, the Mandarin, played by Ben Kingsley, a terrorist who is responsible for a stream of attacks all over the world. And this comes home to haunt Tony when his own palatial home is destroyed by the Mandarin, which includes all of his Iron Man suits. And then we see Tony, shall I say, go on a quest to hunt down the Mandarin and bring him to justice. Shane Black, as a director and as a writer, love him. When he's on it, he's on it. As a writer, he's written some of my favourite films ever. Lethal Weapon, Last Boy Scout, Long Kiss Goodnight, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. After the first two, which were directed by Jon Favreau, I thought this is going to be a little bit difficult. How will Shane Black bring his own thing into this? First Iron Man, I loved. Second Man, okay, watchable, not great. The third one, I thought much of an improvement and so much better than the second one. Like I said before, we see a more vulnerable Tony Stark. And this is Tony Stark who has to rely on his wit and his ingenuity to get the Mandarin. This is more Tony Stark, less Iron Man. And this film goes back to the aesthetics, much like Casino Royale did when they did the reboot of James Bond. It was James Bond, young James Bond, no gadgets, no corny one-liners, no silly villains with silly names. It was just him and just his raw emotion and his raw talent and skill. This is what we see here, and I love it. And as a film, I think that has to be easily the funniest out of the three. And this film is peppered with Shane Black's trademark. Snappy one-liners, great dialogue, and great interaction between the characters. The fact that we saw a great dynamic between Don Cheadle and Robert Downey Jr. in this film. It was so much more better and it's so much more elongated than it was in. Also, I like to have a relationship between Pepper and Robert Downey Jr. These two have excellent chemistry together. And the action sequences in this film are on point. Great visual effects, great action sequences, great musical score. I loved it. And again, this film is beautifully paced. When there's a need for action, there is a need for action. When there is a need for drama or intensity, there's a need for drama and intensity. It is not action for action's sake. And Shane Black has crafted a very, very good addition to the Iron Man franchise. And for me personally, I'll be honest with you, I thought that I was going to come on here and say, no, this is the weakest out of the franchise. But after watching the three back to back, watching the first one, which I loved, watching the second one, which I thought, okay, possible, watching the third one, I thought, strong improvement. Strong improvement. And the supporting cast is great as well. Ben Kingsley, excellent. And he does a great comical turn as the Mandarin. And even though there's a twist in the film in terms of the narrative of the film, I liked it. Some comic book fans will think, you know what, I didn't really like that. That was unnecessary. But it worked, and he was a worthy addition to the film. Even Guy Pearce was in this film. Guy Pearce, I remember him from Neighbours. This is in the early 80s. Okay, now I'm showing you my age a little bit here. Don't judge me. But as an actor in this film, I thought he was very, very good. But Iron Man 3, worthy addition to the franchise, great addition to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, good performances all around, great cinematic sequences, great action sequences, and it was just good to see more of an in-depth and more emotional performance from Robert Downey Jr. We didn't see him rely on his gadgets, it was just him and his instinct, and we got to learn more about him. We got to learn more about his background. So I will give this film a very strong 8 out of 10. So that is my review of Iron Man 3. If you like what you see, subscribe to this channel, leave a comment with what is your favourite Iron Man film, follow me on Instagram and Facebook, and I shall see you on the next film review.